It's Veterans Day here in the United States, and our fathers were veterans, and we want to, say thank you to all the veterans out there. And then Janice has got a story about a man named Pat Gualtieri that she's going to tell you about and his special connection to Veterans Day. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our channel, Scientology Peeling the Onion. Mark Fisher here, along with my co-host, Janis Gillham Grady. G'day, Janice.
G'day, Mark. G'day, everybody. And thank you for tuning in to watch our special show today. Today, as Mark already mentioned, is Veterans Day. And it's a day for all of us to honor and appreciate the veterans of not just America, but also other countries as well. You know, there's been many wars going on, and there's been wounded warriors, and there's warriors who come home with, and, you know, there's no injuries or anything like that. But they're a special type of people, and they deserve special acknowledgement for what they have done to give us all freedom. And so there is one person in particular who I want to give a special acknowledgement to, and that the show will be about. But first off, I had veterans in my family. This is my mother's father, and he was a digger in World War I, and he went from Australia, and he fought in Gallipoli, where he got wounded. And then after he recovered from that, he was fighting in France for the crown, because Australia was under the crown at the time. And we always had a saying that the British fought to the last Australian. Anyway, this is my grandfather. And he actually, in the French part of the war in World War I, he actually got shot in the chest and was left for dead on the battlefield and found alive when they were carrying the dead off. And the only thing that saved him was he had a Bible in his pocket.
Oh, wow.
Otherwise, he was going to be pretty badly. He would have been dead if it wasn't for that Bible. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that was my mother's father. And then this is my father's father, my grandfather, Francis Gillham. And he was a horse trainer for the Light Horsemen. And he fought in Gallipoli as well. And he was actually at Beersheba, where the Australians were to take the town. And this is where they lined up the Light Horsemen, and they charged the town under fire. And I think there was like 31 Australians that were killed in that, but they managed to take the town, and the horses got water. You know, it was like a drastic situation. And my grandfather trained and cared for those horses, and he was actually in the reserve line to do the charge, but he didn't have to do the charge because they'd taken the town in time before he had to charge. So anyway, that was my grandfather. And then here, sitting in the front, is my dad, he was early 20s, during the war. And he actually didn't go off to war, but he did serve in the Army and stayed in the reserve. When he was married to my mother, he was still in the reserve. And he actually drove trucks for the Army. And he even had an experience where the brakes on the truck went, and he had to just drive around on the windy roads with just his clutch. And he became a great driver from his experience in the Army.
So on the left is my grandfather, Henry Fisher, and I think he was a major, and he was a civil engineer in the Army. And right after World War II, they needed to rebuild Austria and Europe because of all the bombing that had happened during World War II. So he moved there and was stationed over in Vienna with my grandmother and my father, his brother, and his sister. And so they lived in Austria for several years, overseeing the rebuilding of the city after it had been bombed and stuff during the war. And then on the right over there, the far right, is my dad, Russell Fisher in a Navy uniform, and then right next to him is my Uncle Bob Fisher, Robert Fisher, in his Army Air Corps uniform. And this was during the Korean War. My dad enlisted in the Navy straight out of college and started as a sailor and then quickly moved up the ranks to be an officer. And then my Uncle Bob, he became a helicopter pilot and all that while he was in the military. So they served during the Korean conflict. My dad served for 23 years through Korea and then later Vietnam. And then he retired in 1971 as a lieutenant commander. So that's their service, and they served proudly as Americans. And so we want to just say thank you to all of the veterans that are out there. And this is Veterans Day, different than Memorial Day. Memorial Day is paying tribute to those who lost their life fighting or were injured and wounded. But this is Veterans Day here in the United States. So we want to wish everybody a happy Veterans Day.
Cool.
Now, I want to, while you're getting the next story set up there, Janice, I just want to remind everybody, please subscribe to our channel if you haven't. Hit that like button and notification button so you know when the next video is coming up. And we've got quite a few exciting ones coming up here in the near future. So anyway, Janice, over to you on our next part.
I want to talk about Pat Gualtieri. Pat Gualtieri was a New Yorker, and he went to Vietnam in the military. Before he went to Vietnam, he had a wife and a daughter, Tara, and went off and fought the war in Vietnam and made many friends while he was there, got very close with his companions. And then when he returned from the war, his wife wanted a divorce, and they remained friends for a long time afterwards. And Pat, though, was like, okay, I'm divorced. What am I going to do? New York's too cold. So he packed up and he drove across to LA wanting to become a painter. He arrives in LA and he drives past Celebrity Center and he thought it was an acting studio. So he went in.
Do you mean a painter like painting portraits and pictures, or like a house painter type?
No, I think painting pictures, like an artist.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, he goes into Celebrity Center thinking it's an acting school. And he keeps going and he's enjoying everybody and having fun. And he ends up as the supervisor of the HQS course, the Hubbard Qualified Scientologist course. And then he actually ends up as one of my mother's public relations people. And I met him, I guess it was 1973, when I went to Celebrity Center, and my mother ended up going down to Mexico while my sister and I were visiting. So we went down to Mexico and joined her, and she was down there. On the left in the white is Pat, and in the front is Al Rabisi. He was also a public relations. And Al's wife at the time, Gay, the mother of Giovanni, was pregnant with Giovanni and his sister at the time. And that's us climbing up the Sun Pyramid outside of Mexico City. Anyway, wow. Pat was there, and that's when I first got to know Pat. Oh, he would have us in stitches, and would be driving through the Mexican traffic in Mexico City, and Pat would get to a stoplight. Pat would jump out of the car, run over to a taco stand, grab a taco, and get back in the car before the lights changed. Or the lights had changed and we're now holding up all the traffic trying to, Pat, come on, get back in the car. Anyway, I was only 17 at the time. And anyway, he was just fun to be around. Everything was so easy going with Pat. Anyway, and then, so he was the PR for a while with my mom. And he was like probably one of her best friends. Here they are. They went to the beach together, and Heber was there. I don't have a picture of Heber there, but I was told he was there. But yeah, they would go on Liberty together, and Mom toured the U.S. and Pat was always with her, and he'd set up the various events. And he was so good at events that when the Guardian's office had to do the prayer day event and they were fumbling around, Pat ended up being pulled from working for my mother and put on handling the prayer day event and pulling that off. And
what was the prayer day event?
Prayer day was where the GO was working on a religious image, and they came out and did this whole big event for Scientologists, and it was all about Scientology and being
was
a
this
religion.
In Anaheim? Was this at the Anaheim
Yeah.
convention? Yeah, the big
Yes.
Anaheim auditorium or whatever. Yeah, this is before my time, but yeah, but I remember there was a big deal.
Right. And here he is in 74 when he got married. There's Pat on the left with Joyce Myers, who was the deputy for my mother, Chris Maney. Joyce is actually still a Scientologist, a public Scientologist. She's not on staff, but she's still there. And Chris Maney is a musician in the industry still in Los Angeles. And then Kathy Wasserman, who ended up marrying Steve Hurd, Kathy Hurd. She, I heard, was a manager for various different actors. And so all three of them were Sea Org, all four of them were Sea Org, but no longer. But Joyce is the only one that's still a Scientologist. I don't know about Kathy, if she's still a Scientologist. And anyway, so, here's a good one. Here is, there's Pat in the middle with Mickey Llewell from Celebrity Center. I don't know what Mickey's doing these days. He was an artist.
Who is Mickey? You got to point out, is he the guy in the uniform?
Mickey, the one in the white shirt with his head kind of up on the right of Pat.
Okay.
And he's an artist. He was staff at Celebrity Center during the 25th anniversary, I think, of Celebrity Center. Maybe it wasn't 25th. It was, anyway, during one of the anniversaries that my sister and I attended, Mickey had done this beautiful painting of my mom that just showed what a great artist he was. But he'd been staff at Celebrity Center. And then on the far right is Skip Press. Skip's a writer. He was also staff at Celebrity Center. I haven't seen Skip in years. I ran into him. Spanky and I were once going to a little restaurant, and we ran into Skip there. I haven't seen him since. But he was also staff at Celebrity Center.
Who's in the Sea Org uniform?
I don't remember who that was. I have it written on the photo, but I don't have that note here. Sorry about that. Anyway, so this is them just working together on something, obviously. And so Pat remained as a PR for my mother. And then towards the end, when my mother got removed from Celebrity Center and put on the PR org, Pat was taken from her and sent to Flag, and he started working for Diana Hubbard in her office, working for Division 6s.
What's this photo?
This is a picture where it was supposed to be a picture of Heber, who's on the left, and Heber was married to my mom, and Milton Casales, who's next to Heber. Milton was a director and also an acting instructor, and he had a big acting class and got a lot of people into Scientology through his acting class. And he did Butterflies Are Free with Goldie Hawn. And then there's my mom looking down and laughing at Pat. And next to her is Bobby Lyons. And he was an actor and a director and an acting instructor. So the picture was supposed to be of Heber, Milton, my mom, and Bobby. My mom saw Pat off to the side and said, "Pat, quick, get in the photo." So Pat slid in, and they're all laughing at him as he slides in and poses for the picture. So he's the only one actually looking at the camera because everyone else has their attention on him.
It's a great photo. Yeah.
It just kind of, again, shows Pat's personality and how outgoing he was. He just was an incredible person.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Pat went to Flag, and at Flag he met Sarah Leopold, or Sally Leopold. And Sally, when I was Watchdog Committee Celebrity Center in the early 80s, I put Sally on as the commanding officer, Celebrity Center, and I got Keithy Karras and put her on as the senior case supervisor, and I sent them in to Celebrity Center to start fixing up the field and recovering celebrities and so forth. And Sarah and Pat got married, and I was one of the maids of honor along with Suzette Hubbard and Debbie Oblinsky. The three of us worked together with me as WGC Celebrity Center. Suzette was my programs chief, so she ran my programs into Celebrity Center using Debbie Oblinsky to get the execution done. So we were all in the wedding along with Marshall Goldblatt, who was Pat's best man. Then I then left the Sea Org in 1990, and Pat was still working with celebrities, and Sally was, and so forth. And then per my notes, I think it was around 2000, Pat had actually gotten fed up and blown several times, and they'd recover him because I think they had him in management PR, and he hated it.
So he was in the Sea Org for quite some time after we left. Yeah.
Yes, he was. And then finally around 2000 is when he finally blew and wouldn't go back. And he went to New York and trying to figure out what to do. He got with all his old buddies in New York, and he started working for the Veterans Office in the New York Mayor's office. And from there, he started just cultivating this office and doing events and acknowledging the vets for what they do. And he would put on fundraisers, and he would get toys together for the vets' kids and the families, and he would get singers or actors together and have them go and visit the vets in the hospitals. And he then put on the New York Veterans Parade. And he'd been doing this for several years.
The Veterans Day Parade, like they have a big parade in New York City.
Yes, November 11th, every year they had a huge Veterans Parade. And I went to New York. Oh yeah, sorry, I'll go over that later. I'm trying to find the picture. But I went to New York, and in 2010, there's me and Pat. We're in the Veterans Office in downtown New York. And the funny thing was, I had my 19-year-old son with me at the time and my daughter. That was a mistake bringing my son in because he's, 6 foot tall and full of muscle. And these guys were like, oh, he's perfect. Let's recruit him. And he's like,
the right age too. He's 19. Yeah.
He was the perfect age. But anyway, that was funny. But yeah, so there I am. I hadn't seen Pat in 20 years, and I went and visited him there. And we just got back in touch and laughing and so forth. And it was just amazing to see, everything he had going on. But, just what I saw there was nothing compared to what he was really doing for these vets. And as I mentioned, he was doing all sorts of stuff for them. And so in 2012, he invited us to be in the parade because my daughter was part of the Las Vegas Young Entertainers. And they were a group of young girls and boys singing. And so Pat said, bring them to New York. I'll get a float built for you, and they can be part of the parade. And this is Fifth Avenue, where it was cleared, ready for the parade for all these floats that he had. And here's my daughter and one of the other girls. Pat provided us with these black SUVs. I mean, it really made us feel like VIPs as we're being picked up from the hotel and driven around and taken down where the parade was to start. And there's all these floats down there. It was all the staging area and big events going on. And it was just something I'd not been a part of anything like this, having grown up in the Sea Org. And here I was, even though I'd been out of the Sea Org for 20 years, it was a whole different thing that I hadn't seen. And just being a part of it, his Gold Star family, that means they've actually lost one of their family members in a war.
Right.
And here's the kids that went and performed as they're driving down Fifth Avenue on this float. They're singing their hearts out. And, there's other floats there of them marching in the parade. And it was just a moment of pride for me. I wasn't even an American, but I was proud I am now, but it made me so proud to be in America and meet all these different people and hear their stories, and each of them have their own stories. They're all different. And then here, I don't know if this really was, but they were introduced as the Navy SEAL 6 that took out what's his name? Osama
bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden, yeah. But I don't know if they really put the real guys out there or what. But these guys were up there being acknowledged. And Pat had me go to this special event. And this is 2012. And so while I was there, here I am in a photograph. There's Joe Biden as the vice president and Sandy Taylor in the middle. And then me. Sandy Taylor was the director of the Las Vegas Young Entertainers. And I said to Joe, I said, hey, can we get a photo with you? Where the country bumpkins from Las Vegas, meeting all these big wigs in New York. And he took my phone and he handed it to one of his security guys and said, here, take a photo. So anyway, those were my few words with Joe Biden at the time. And then here, this is one of the Navajo Indian coders. They did the code during World War II, and it was not a written language, and nobody knew the language but the Navajo Indians. And Pat had them all show up. They were all old men at this time. They're probably, they're well gone by now. But it was great. And again, another honor to meet these guys who are actually there relaying all the messages in Navajo language so that nobody else could understand what was being said.
Right.
Yeah. So that was 2012. And then we went back again in, I think it was 2013. And I took this picture here of Pat. He was into his big organizing and making sure everything's happening and everyone's in place and meeting all the big wigs. And, he just had it under control. And again, he had a float built for us. And this time, our float was to lead the parade. It was like, oh my God, and it was like, the country bumpkins from Las Vegas are now leading the parade. And the kids did great, singing their hearts out again as the parade went down and cheering and waving at everybody. And I'm standing on the back of the float, taking photographs and feeling very, very proud, to be a part of this and honor these people. And here's Pat at the starting event in downtown New York.
What
and then
year was
this was 2013, I believe it was.
Okay.
And so here I am. We're walking down to find our float. And that's me in the front and with my daughter behind me, and then the group of all the singers in the back in the blue, as we're looking for our float because it's at the start of the parade. So we had to pass all these other floats to get there. And here we are on our float that Pat had made up for us. And here's, soldiers carrying the American flag as part of the parade.
Mm-hmm.
The Michael Bloomberg, the mayor of New York, walking down in the parade.
Yeah.
And oops.
Then you got to go to the next slide. The next slide show.
Okay. Yeah, and then there's enjoying freedom, thank a vet. That I thought, what a great sign, and that's what we were doing. We were acknowledging all these vets, and here's the Navy in the parade, and here we are at the finishing line. You can see to the right, the big guy, that's Pat, to direct us as to where to go, because everyone's following us. So we got to move on and get out of the way. And there I am, proud, standing on the back of the float, taking photographs as we went. And then after the parade, Pat had several other little events going on. And this was one where he was acknowledging several people. He did a Medal of Honor to one vet who was like 80 years old. And then here was a wounded warrior that Pat had the girls photograph with. And then that night, we went to Aaron and I. Pat had special seats for us. And this was at the Korean Embassy in New York, where the Koreans were giving Pat a Medal of Honor.
Wow.
And it was a whole dinner put on by the Koreans, and it was special recognition, for what Pat had been doing for all the veterans and so forth. And then in 2015, Pat passed away. And when Pat was dying in hospital, he called me and he asked me if I could find his daughter, Gayla. So I said, okay. I found out she was still in the Sea Org. And Pat was in hospital. His oldest daughter, Tara, was there. His girlfriend, Molly, was with him. Pat had called and talked to his previous ex-wife. He talked to me. So I now had the job of finding Gayla. And somehow someone had her phone number. She was a reg for, I believe, the IAS, the International Association of Scientologists. So I got this phone number and I called it. And Gayla answered. And I was like, wow, this is great. And I'm like, Gayla, my name is Janis Grady, and your dad's in hospital and he'd like to talk to you. He is dying and he wanted to talk to you as one of the last things he does. She disgusted me. And this is all part of this connection thing that we have, because her response was not, well, how long's he got? Can I get up there? Where is he? Let me call him. None of that. It was, how did you get my phone number? And I was just shocked. And I'm like, it doesn't matter how I got your phone number. Your dad is dying and would like to talk to you. She refused. Anyway, if anyone out there knows Gayla, you don't have to bring this up to her, because she's the one that has to live with how she treated her father in his dying days. And her father was one of the most magnificent men I have ever met. All he was about was helping people and making things better. And what he did for those veterans was just absolutely incredible. I will move on here. Okay, so they did a magazine in time for the Veterans Parade in 2015. And here's the photograph I took of Pat.
I was going to say, you took that photo, didn't you?
I took that photo, yeah. I sent it to them and, helped them, because I got to know the people in his office, because I'd visited them in 2010, and here we are 5 years later, and I'd met them each time I'd gone to New York and visited with Pat. So, yeah, that was my photo there. And they did an incredible job of honoring him at that parade.
I like the go back. I like the headline. if you haven't got purpose, you've got nothing. Is that a quote? That must be a
Exactly.
quote from him. Yeah.
Yes. And he had purpose. He had purpose of helping every single veteran.
Yeah.
It didn't matter who they were. He wanted to help them. And then here, this is me in 2015 at the parade where they're honoring Pat, and that's James, who I met in 2010 that tried to recruit my son. and and so because again, when I went back there, I visited them all and just said hello, and just to be there for the acknowledgement of Pat on that parade in 2015. So that was me and James. And then here they are again. They're talking about Pat, and they're starting. This again is the staging area where they're going to, after this event, go off and do the parade. And there is Pat wearing the medal that the Koreans presented him with in 2013.
Wow.
So, yeah. Anyway, I was very proud to have Pat as a very close friend. And I know my mother was very proud of him when he worked for her, and she would still be proud of him for what he accomplished. He was just absolutely incredible. And that's why today being Veterans Day and what Pat has done for veterans, I wanted to do this so that he gets acknowledged and everyone knows how great a person he was.
That's a fantastic story. I met Pat in Clearwater in Florida when he was working for Diana Hubbard the first time.
Right.
And just in the Florida days, I mean, he never really came up to the Gilman Hot Springs base, years later. So I never reconnected or anything like that. But I always liked him. He's very nice, and his wife was very nice, and that's a great story. I take it that Pat was just as gregarious the whole time, right? In other words, he was just very friendly, outgoing personality. From working with your mother to to doing with the vets. What was he like? What was it like when you and him first reconnected after he left Scientology and the Sea Org? I mean, was it just like old times talking to him?
Yes.
Or how was it?
Yes, it was like no time had passed. It had been 20 years, but it still was like no time had passed. It was Pat, and he was the type of person that he just had so much love for everybody. And any assignment he was given, he pulled it off. No matter how hard it was to pull off, he made it go right. And that's how he was.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. That's a great story. Well, we want to again thank all the veterans out there and acknowledge them on Veterans Day. And a special thank you and shout out to Pat. He's no longer with us, as you mentioned.
Right.
But he still has family out there and people that know him. And so we thought this would be a nice tribute to him for them. And hopefully they'll be able to see this video, not just the ones in Scientology, but he has other family and friends. So anyway.
Yeah. So anyway.
I wanted to mention, you mentioned connection and disconnection. His daughter obviously disconnected and treated him horribly. But one of the things that we have been pushing is connection. Stay connected with people. You never know when they're going to reach out and come around. And we've got 2 new merchandise items that I wanted to mention. We've got, this is a tote bag. It's a canvas tote bag with the word connection on it. And then 2 arrows pointing into the heart. That's the logo that we created for this. I also did sweatshirts because it's cold this time of year in black, blue, and gray. And it's got the same logo on the front. And then we've got the hoodie. The hoodie's also in 3 colors as well. So if you're interested in any of that, you can just go to our merchandise store. And we're running a special right now, 10% off all of our merchandise from now until Christmas. The promo code is Christmas. And all you have to do is when it asks for a promo code, write the word Christmas in there and you'll get an automatic 10% discount. But we want to encourage people to get the connection merchandise and send it. If you've got family members or friends in Scientology, just send it to them. Even if you send it to them anonymously, it's just a way to reach out, and it's something that they won't necessarily throw away.
And you know what too, Mark, and that is you never know when it's going to be the last time you're going to communicate with that person. It's Absolutely. Just like that you could have someone that you're close to, but you don't call them except for every year or every 10 years or every 20 years, but reach out to them anyway, because you don't know what's going on in their life. And that one phone call might be just what they needed for a pickup, or because you're never going to hear from them again. I found that when Paul passed away, he was sick for a month and then he was gone. And
Right.
it's like,
and we had no idea it was going to hit up like that. And then, like you said, it was over,
Yeah. And there's so many people were like, oh, I was going to call him. Well, they didn't call him. And I don't like that people have to live with that, where it's like that thought of I was going to call him and never did. So if you have that thought, make a call to that person. Give that loved one the feeling of love and reconnection. And Christmas is coming. Those people in the Sea Org, no matter what you think they think of you, it probably means something deep down that you have reached out to them.
Yeah, and not just people, we have a lot of never-ins who watch our channel. It's not just that. Maybe family members or friends who have never been involved in Scientology that are no longer talking to one another or connected in some way. Great merchandise, great way to, even if you don't buy the merchandise, just send them a letter, send them an email, reach out to them, even if they don't read it or you don't know that they read it. They'll read it, and just send them, just really nice messages that you're still there for them. And you never know when they're going to reconnect and communicate with you.
Even a simple text saying, thinking of you and sending love.
Yeah.
That means something. Whether you've heard from them in a year or not.
Or 10 years. You know what I mean?
10 years.
We've through this channel, we've reached, we've reconnected with other people over the years. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I haven't talked to you in 30 years. You know what I mean? It's like you said, it's like no time has passed, but you're wondering how their life is and how they're doing, and so it's really a great thing. It's the holiday season, Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, great time to do it.
Right.
Great. Well, I just wanted to let everybody know, please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button, notification button. Also, if you have any questions or comments, ask down below. We check them and answer them all. You can help us with if you want to support our channel, you can buy us a coffee. There's a link in the video description, and just click on that and follow those directions. And then finally, if you'd like to become a member of our channel, right next to the subscribe button, there's a member join. It says join. Just click on that. There's a short video and different levels of membership, and it's just another way to support our channel so we can keep on doing these videos for you all. The other thing I wanted to mention is your daughter. She has her CBD salve, right? Oracle.
Yes.
CBD salve, and she's running a special right now through November 28th. If you go to her website, which I'll put up here in a second, her Oracle CBD salve, you get a 15% discount. The promo code is November 15, all one word, and it's good until November 28th. So if you're looking at getting some CBD salve, it's great for joint pain or any kind of pain or anything like that. It doesn't get you high. It's an actual salve that actually works, made with immune oil, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, you can order it there, and I'm going to put up, where is it at here? I've got her channel. Her website is, one second. I know I got it here somewhere. My eyes are not as good as they used to be. Here it is.
Put your glasses back on.
There. I know. www.healedbyoracle.com. That's www.healedbyoracle.com. Take advantage of that 15% discount. The promo code is November 15, all one word, and you can order that. And she got an order the other day off of the video the live stream that we did.
Yeah,
and it's helping her, but it also will help you as well. And then, like I said, you could order any channel merchandise or anything like that, autographed books by Janis, anything like that in our merch store. Just go down below and click on the link. Janis, Is there anything else you'd like to say before we end up?
Just honor the veterans in your life, please. They deserve it.
I wholeheartedly agree to that, and we salute you. Absolutely.
Bye.
Okay, 1 second here. Until next time, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.